Hello, Midnight Coders, and welcome. Step into my igloo, grab yourself some coffee, and welcome to a new podcast, The Midnight Coder. Midnight Coder is a late night developer podcast built around coffee, code, and real conversations. Each episode features experienced developers sharing their journeys, their lessons, career highs, and some real moments. We're going to be breaking down projects, reviewing decisions, discussing best practices, and talking about some careers in tech. So, with me tonight is my friend and fellow developer, Hayden. So, how are you tonight, Hayden?
Hey man, thank you first of all for having me on your podcast. I'm doing great. It's quite cold down here, not as cold as over there, but just waiting for the summer.
Weird to have a fellow Canadian in here.
I know. It's nice though. It's really nice.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. How long have you, or tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, I should say. How long have you been learning and working with Java?
So I have been working with Java pretty much my entire programming career. Um, I was a kid when I started, probably around 8 years old. So, uh, 26 now. Count the years. I'm not good at math.
What uh, what about Java got your interest, or what got you into Java?
Oh, you know what? It was curiosity. As a lifelong RuneScape player and Minecraft player, I think curiosity got the best of me. I wanted to know the inner workings of these games. So, and naturally, the first step to look towards is Java, right? They're written in Java, and I wanted to know how they worked. I wanted to know how I could make mods for Minecraft, for RuneScape, and led me to the Java community. And I'm very thankful that it led me to the Java community. This is home.
Yes, I've kind of had a very similar journey and very much call Java home. Uh, what sort of struggles did you encounter when you first got into learning the language?
You know what? My biggest struggle is that I was a kid. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody to guide me with, and I didn't have a formal education. Entirely self-taught, especially as a kid trying to navigate this plethora of different topics on your own. It's quite daunting. So yeah, I guess just not having any direction was my biggest struggle. But
Mm,
I have found solace in communities, one that we share together, the Together Java Discord server, and I've met a lot of great people there, a lot of very smart people, and a lot of patient people, and I'm very thankful for that because as I was a novice developer, having those people be patient with me and teach me has made me come a long way.
yes, I've really enjoyed I've only been in there a short time, but Together Java has been quite the welcoming community and quite the breath of fresh air from the other communities that I've been a part of.
Absolutely. I do like how welcoming and patient everybody in there is. And I love that we also have a range of skill in Together Java. We've got some very smart individuals. Very smart and people that love to teach. They love to teach.
Mm. Yeah, it was nice to find some other like-minded people.
Absolutely.
What have been some of the high moments in your Java career? Either a snippet or a full-out program or any little bits of things that you've been proud of?
The thing that I'm most proud of is reciprocating the knowledge that was instilled in me in our communities. I pride myself in helping others and teaching others and being the mentor that I never had when I was a kid. Uh, in Java. Like I work with a lot of students now, and I love giving back and being able to help them with their struggles. Kind of give them the direction I never had.
Hmm.
Um,
So, so now if you could talk to them directly, or if you could talk to yourself as a younger developer directly, is there now that you have this sort of deeper understanding, is there any sort of advice that you would give yourself as a younger developer, like maybe learning data structures or learning something specific sooner rather than later, or is there any sort of direction you would give yourself?
yeah, I mean, if I could go back in time or and talk to my younger self, I would say teach people what you know. I think that's a good direction. If you're able to articulate and put your thoughts into words and explain a concept to somebody that isn't familiar with the concept and just teach them what you know, I think it really helps concrete things in your own mind.
Hmm.
So I would have liked to tell myself to teach earlier. Even if I wasn't equipped to teach, I think it would put me on this path of doing it sooner.
Hmm.
And I think that's very valuable.
I, don't-
Um,
I can
as
see the value in that because I've since I started teaching other people, I've learned quite a bit myself.
yeah, I don't think you can be a good teacher without being a good learner. They're hand in hand. If you
Hmm.
can if you can teach somebody what you know, you're more capable of learning.
I agree. I do agree.
Also, I see in the chat, Anu Ham
Yes,
said Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, my
yes.
brother.
That is my one of my fellow followers. He's in our Discord. His name is Key. He's a very great man. He actually suggested our last the last project that I worked on, the Midnight To Do List.
That's awesome.
He's also a aspiring Java developer.
Right on, man. Java, no place like home.
All right, so that's all I kind of had to question you about. Is there anything that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I can share with you this project. I mean, not share with you, but share with the viewers because you've been actually helping me a lot with this project.
Yeah, so this is a little blog project that he's been working on, but I'll let him tell it a little more and maybe share his screen so we can take a look at this together.
Absolutely. So, um, I have only just recently, as you know, started with Spring. I'm a couple days in, but thankfully, Glabe, you've been helping me so much, and it's been I would have not been able to do this without you. Um, so I have this blog written in Spring with Spring Boot, using SQLite as my database, which I do intend on changing the implementation later. Um, but it's a blog. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this blog yet. It's just something that I've wanted to do for a while. Um, but right here, I've got this rich markdown editor. You can create a blog with hello, Midnight Coders, and Midnight Coder Java for the tags. This is a brief description, and please grab yourselves a cup of warm Java.
I will cheers
I
that with
can.
my Midnight Coder cup.
So now, as you can see, I have these this blog post displayed. I can filter by tags, but I only have one post right now. Um, and then you can click on the blog post itself.
Nice.
That's basically it. I was also working on a subscriber list. So where is that? That is in subscriber service. So here I have a database of emails that I planned on sending updates to whenever I post my blog. This will diverge out into Discord, SMS as well. It's very basic, but it's teaching me the ropes of Spring Boot. I'm working a little bit more with databases, and it's been a lot of fun.
Now, just so that you can kind of tell our community about this, how long have you been working on this project?
That's really funny. About 2 days. Uh, it and you know what? I wouldn't have been able to do it without LLMs. I'm not gonna lie. The front end, I'm a back end developer. I love logic. I thrive in logic. I do not have any artistic capability at all. So my entire front end was generated using Claude Code, and then my back end was entirely written by hand. But it's been quite intuitive and fluid, and it's been able to. Spring has been able to allow me to develop this very quickly.
It's impressive
Yeah, it's
how
been about 2 days.
quickly you can throw together an application with Spring Boot.
It's really nice.
S-
It's really, really nice.
Spring is a great framework, and Spring Boot just really allows you to bootstrap your project and get it going quickly.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I've never had any experience setting up a Spring project without Spring Boot, so I don't even know what that entails. What exactly? Like, how would, like, what kind of bootstrapping does Spring Boot do for you?
Well, basically, Spring is kind of the framework, and it's the thing that allows other people to have created these different projects in Spring. And all of these different projects, like Spring Security, they are their own sort of entities. They're their own Spring projects. And normally, if you wanted to sort of like build your own thing from scratch, you'd be grabbing all these different projects, and you'd be putting them together yourself. You'd be piecing together the palm, or the Gradle, depending on how you went with it. However, with Spring Boot, it gives you this nice little, or but they present you with this nice little initializer so that you can just select the projects that you want, and it pre-builds the project, so it takes care of all of that bootstrapping and bringing all of the dependencies in, and gets it going so that you can just basically have a project out of the box right after you've built it with either or start.spring.io, or if you've done it in the IntelliJ generation tool. But
Yes, I have used Spring Boot, the Spring initializer from their website, and then it serves it to you as like a zip file, which is like a template that you can use to make a project,
yeah,
right? But for this application in specific, I did use the IntelliJ initializer, which was a lot nicer. That was actually very convenient, where it let me choose all my modules that I wanted as a part of my Spring project.
mm, yeah, it's definitely I've really like I got into Spring quite a while ago, and I started out with kind of the hard way, building up a whole bunch of configuration files and doing all this, that, and the
Mhm.
other things, and lots of annotations everywhere. And then I learned that there was different projects out there that made building a website aspect a lot easier with, say, Spring Web, because they take care of adding few extra annotations in their project that take care of doing a lot of other things, which again saves a lot of extra steps. So like Spring is kind of the fundamental foundation of it all, whereas all of the different things that you bring in, like Spring Security, Spring Mail, Spring Web, for RESTful, like everything that you bring in has its own purpose. It covers its own thing that Spring otherwise would have a complex setup for.
Sorry, Glabe, I would like to interrupt you for a moment.
Not allowed.
Your
Not allowed.
microphone, your
Oh, what's up?
microphone volume has just gone down quite significantly,
Did it?
just a little bit. I
Ah,
can still hear you, but I could hear it incrementally going down, getting quieter and quieter and quieter over time.
I think that was getting kind of pushed further away from my face slowly.
And right now I'm not able to hear you.
Not able to. Oh, I think that might be our Discord quality. There we go. Is this any better?
No.
No. How about how about the YouTube? Are you guys having?
It could be my end too. Sorry, I might have a faulty connection to my computer. Let me just double check.
If anybody's watching this in the chat, let me know if you're
Ah,
having an issue hearing
there
me.
we go. Sorry, no, I think it was on my end. I think it was definitely my end. I think I had a connection loose.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect timing.
So, switching from your project, uh, we can kind of switch to the project that I've been working on lately, which was kind of a more developer-friendly portfolio, if you will.
Yes, I would love to see this. See some of the better practices.
Better practices. Okay, let's see my practices. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, the Midnight Coder project that I'm working on is a way to help developers highlight themselves or present themselves. So the idea here is that um, trying to build a resume over and over and over again, trying to keep it up to date, trying to make sure that you have everything up to date and correct, um, is kind of daunting. And every time you go to send your resume off, you got to make a different cover letter and tailor things. And and again, every say year or month or few months, you got to make sure your stuff and is up to date, your skills and whatnot. So the idea here is that I built a living portfolio, is what I'm calling it, and the idea is that any developer can sign up for an account, create a portfolio, highlight themselves. So if we were to just jump over to port, is it portfolio? Profile Glave. This would be mine, just as a kind of a quick little way to show it off. If you were to, you can have your own custom uh, image for yourself. You can have your name. You can set up kind of a header, your contact information. So if you happen to have your GitHub, if you happen to have a GitLab, you have a LinkedIn you want to share, your email address you've signed up for, so that way people can find you and contact you. You can have a little bio for yourself, which is rendered in Markdown language. So if you wanted to do some edits to it, if I was actually logged in, um, you wanted to do some edits to it, you could go through the rich editor to do so via Markdown language. Um, you can come down and add some skills to highlight some of your skills that you have. Simply add here, you can choose the skill name that you want, what level you are with it, and you can provide the length of time that you've been with it or using it. For I believe Hayden and I actually had a conversation about this where we're going to change this up so that you're going to be able to provide a month and year that you've been with it, you've been doing said skill, so that way it will update for you. But also that way we can throw in a little tech anniversary for you. And so that way on the anniversary of your Java skills, your Docker skills, whatever, we can sort of give you a little congratulations or like way to go or something of that nature to kind of celebrate that for you, celebrate that milestone. And you can also come down and provide work history. You can come in and provide all the information you need to about it. And you can create your projects to show off the projects that you're working on or that you have worked on. In my case, it will be the Midnight Technician that my viewers are fairly familiar with, where I can come into the project page and see a full out information about the project, the name of it, who it was that the owner of it, when it was started, when it was finished. I can click to see the website, which in my case goes to the playlist, or the GitHub, which again in my case goes off to the GitHub for it. Um, I need to fix some of the spacing in here. I don't like how this one is again markdown. So if I was to pull the editor, it is again a markdown editor, and there's no spaces or gaps in it here. But for some reason, whenever I save it or finish it, like there's a major gap, and I'm not sure why. So I have to look in to see why that is. But like for now, it's a way for people to show off the projects. You can come over here and explore the Tundra for all of the existing projects. This will list out kind of all of the public projects that are going on. Uh, Same thing for Teams. I just don't have Teams built yet, so it doesn't actually do anything. But overall, the project is designed to try to help developers have a living resume.
Now, I have a question. What kind of ideas would you like to explore for potential hiring managers on this website? How would they, like, what would keep them coming back to this website? Or how, like, what would their experience be with it?
That's a very good question. And to be honest, I haven't actually looked at this too in depthly yet from the hiring manager's perspectives. I was actually thinking about reaching out to a couple of recruiters or hiring managers that I know on LinkedIn and seeing if I can get their feedback on what it is, like present them this and then ask them the question about what they feel about it, what would be more attractive to them, what I could change to make it more attractive. Because as of right now, it's sort of a bare bones basic thing, and I eventually
Yeah,
want to make it so that developers can customize their own CSS for their specific Igloo page or profile page. Um, so like that will allow like front end developers to kind of show off their skills a
mhm.
little more. But I would like to find some recruiters or some other people, or even talk to a few people who are currently in the sea looking for work to find out what it is that is necessary to show off to highlight a developer.
Absolutely. I mean, this platform, you don't want it to necessarily be a platform in which recruiters would come to look for people, but instead have a community in which both recruiters and job seekers are constantly on your platform, I guess, for networking, right? And like you don't you want to retain their attention on this platform,
Hmm.
right? So I think it would be worth looking into ways that would retain the attention of recruiters and not just have them browse this site occasionally looking to recruit, but
Hmm.
actually have them interact with the platform.
Now that's something that I haven't fully put into thought, is how I can make it more interactive from a user's point of view or from a recruiter's point of view. I've been so far solely focusing on what I can do as a developer myself to show off some of my skills. And then I had plans of reaching out and polling my community, my fellow subscribers, to see what they think would be also worth adding to this from their point of view.
Absolutely.
Because I'd like to.
Crowdsourcing information is the best way, in my opinion, to do anything.
Oh yes, I would absolutely love to get people's feedback about like maybe like what are your techniques that you do with your resume that can help that sort of help make you stand out, and like see if I can
Mhm.
collaborate a bunch of ideas together to come up with something. I can't say unique because like essentially if everybody uses this then everybody's going to be the same, but I want to try to find a way to make it so that it's something modern, something fresh, but yet something that front end developers can customize, and maybe back end developers can do something that allows them to show off something live of their skills. Um, 'cause-
Maybe even. one feature at a time, right? Like
Oh
right
yeah.
now, just having the ability for users to showcase their projects, I think that's got a lot of merit in it. And then maybe the recruiter aspect can come later. Just
Hmm.
having a place of recognition and being able to interact with like-minded individuals is a really awesome idea.
Yeah, because I'd like to. There is a lot of things like I would like to um, have like a learning aspect on this platform as well, so that that way I can stick in. I think we've discussed this briefly about an RPG sort of way that people can learn Java. Because again, this platform is. I don't know if I want this. Like this platform is going to be kind of targeted. Like it's written in Java, whatnot. Like my community is around Java, but like I don't necessarily like. I want to start this out with some Java things, but expand it out. But I'd like to like make learning the theory of code, I guess, um,
Absolutely.
into almost a video game. Because let's face it, we all like to play games, and we all like to play theoretically ways of leveling ourselves up. So I feel like some kind of developer RPG game would be really fun to put together, so that we could level up our little like developer avatar.
I really like that anecdote. That reminds me of this one YouTuber that I used to watch. It's not he was a polyglot. He wasn't. It's not Shauma. It was some other gentleman who spoke Chinese. He was American, spoke Chinese, and has sadly passed away, so he doesn't make videos anymore. But
Mm.
he would go out in public, speak Chinese to people that are native Chinese speakers, and absolutely surprise them with his Chinese skills. And he would say that in the title of his video, he was leveling up. He was interacting with people, learning new things, learning how to talk to the locals, and he would level up.
That's funny.
I do think it's great to gamify
Mm.
things as well. Gamifying things is
I
going to be
mean
the
that.
best for attention or attention retention.
Well, I
Attention
feel like
retention.
if you can turn learning into a game, a lot of people like to play games, and
Yes,
they seem to memorize games and get obsessed and learn a lot from just playing. So I feel like if we can turn learning programming and learning, say, programmatic thinking into a video game or into a text-based game even, where you can level up your skills of developing, or your developer level, or your engineering skill, or whatever we decide to call it. Like I feel like that would be a really fun game, and turn the aspect of learning, turn the aspect of becoming a software engineer all into a game. It would be very fun.
absolutely.
I feel like people could get involved with that and get engaged with that, and yeah.
Yeah, as a father, this is something that I encounter all the time. Like I've got a little person that's just learning the world, and you can't just throw knowledge at him because he's not going to retain it. He's not going to want to retain it. But when
Hmm.
you make things fun, when you get them excited about learning, it really does make a difference. Like,
I don't want to
for
date my
example,
I don't want to date myself too much, but I used to have the Pac-Man pattern kind of memorized.
oh really?
like
That's
um
awesome.
like just the fat and like the old fashioned Mario games, like I used to have those levels memorized because I played it so
Mhm.
much. So like I always, and like
Yeah.
almost any game that I played, like even RuneScape as a kid, like I had things memorized, like it was just second nature. So I feel like if I can turn something as fun as, or something as boring as learning software engineering into something as fun as an addictive game, then people would want to memorize the game and memorize this, and it would help people sort of click and learn. But
Absolutely.
I
I've
totally.
got a couple anecdotes to share with you. So I'm gonna list off a couple of games. I don't know if they're novel, if I invented them myself, but in my brain I've invented them myself. I think they probably already existed before. But to teach my son vocabulary, one game that we like to play, we call it the letter game. So we pick a random letter from the alphabet, and then we have to list off as many words that we possibly can think of that start with that letter.
Mm.
And So it's not really a competition, although we do it competitively sometimes, and he kicks my butt. But we will we'll score ourselves. So if you can think of, first of all, adults, there are limitations. So with adults, you cannot say one syllable words, and the more syllables in the word, the better.
Mm.
Children are allowed to say one syllable words, and you can tweak it kind of with their age. If they're older, like than say I would say 5, 6, you cannot use one syllable words. You have to think of longer, more complex words. And the more complex the word, the more recognition you get. So when my son gives me a word that's, let's say, 5 syllables long, I'll be like, oh man, that was such a good word. And I'll give him a round of applause and make him feel really good. And we've gamified learning. He is now expanding his vocabulary.
That's great, man. That's amazing. Like I was kind of a sheltered kid, and I was that kid that wished I had friends when I grew up. So like I tried to, since I never really had too many people to play with. I tried to gamify any little chore that I did or any sort of task that I did.
Yep.
I even tried to gamify friggin' things like when I walked to the store. Like
Yeah,
I tried to turn a boring task of walking into a video into my own sort of game, like, and
absolutely.
it was just what I did as a kid.
I don't know if I've seen this online that people have shared the same experience, even though this has never been talked about. But as a kid, when you were in the car, did you ever imagine this little figure running alongside the car with you, like jumping from building to building?
See, I'm not
Or
really
is this just me?
well. See, it's kind of harder for me because I'm from a smaller town, so like I don't really have too many buildings, and a lot of my like driving is usually on the outskirts of town and like farmland, and so there's not really too many buildings and things. But I used to always daydream and look out the window.
Yeah, for me, I was in the car as a child, I imagined this figure. I think from what I remember, it resembled like Sonic the Hedgehog, and he would jump or he would run alongside the car with me, and he would jump over top of the buildings, right? And it just turned this boring task of being in the backseat of a car with no technology, not talking, not doing anything, and just observing it and gamifying that. Like I think with restrictions comes a lot of creativity.
Mm. Yeah, because again, like I was a very sheltered child, and like I never had too many friends. I was never really encouraged to get out and do many things, and like so I spent a lot of time sheltered in my house, in my basement, my parents' basement, in my room with my computer, and I
Yep. I, sorry, it just reminded me of something else that I used to do when I was a child, which was when I would when I was like going to bed, we had a popcorn ceiling, and I would look up at the popcorn ceiling, trying to find like patterns or images in the popcorn ceiling
oh
to
my god,
before I went to bed.
I used to do that in math class back in high school because like the math class was kind of like one of those things. Like I used to excel in math, and like I was bored as hell in the math class that I was in because at the time I was in a lower level math than I should have been in at the time. So like while the teacher was like doing their thing or whatever, I remember like just sitting there staring up at the ceiling, doing the same thing, like looking at this because the ceiling I used to have all these little like holes all throughout it. It would look just the dots like somebody just like ran a grater over it, and like so like I'd look up and stare off, looking for shapes and anything I could see in the ceiling. That's
Yep.
hilarious that you did the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We've got these shared experiences that have never been talked about, and you think they're quite novel, but they're not. I think maybe it's embedded in our genetics, like that we do these similar things. I don't know, but
That's
I
hilarious.
do think we're going on a little bit of a tangent. I would like to talk more about your project
Yeah, sure.
and potential prospects for your project.
See, that's where I see. I'd like to. I have my vision of it and like my sort of what I think and what I feel should be done, and from my experiences. But to
And
be
that's what I would like to hear about. What
well,
would you like?
Well, see, that's the thing. I haven't been in the job market anytime recent. So, like, I don't know what the struggles are. I don't know what people look for these days. Like, I know what I used to do literally 6 to 8 years ago, but it's been so long since I've been searching for a job and searching for this. Even like my freelancing. I used to be in the circles, rubbing elbows with everybody, seeing who I could freelance to, seeing who I could sell myself to, and um, I haven't even been doing that over the last 8 years. Um, so I don't really have the same experience that people right now today do. So I would like to, like, I feel like basically from like what I've shown at the profile, um, like there's a few things I got to fix with this. Jesus. Like people want to know a little bit about who you are. They want to know your contact information, kind of a quick header about you sort of deal. Then they want to know your skills and your background and like potentially any projects. So that's kind of where I came out with this little flow because this used to be how I would like flow my personal resume when I would pass it around was I had an image of myself, I had my name and a brief little header that kind of dictated a little bit about who I am from a quick point of view, and then I provided my contact information and I would provide a couple of references. And then from there, I used to give kind of a little bit of an about me to tell people who I was. And then beneath that, I would always list out my skills or my tech stack. And then beneath that, my history with work and any associated documents, accolades, or whatever I put beneath it. So in this case, I took the inspiration from LinkedIn and I wanted to showcase projects. So I decided to stick that on here as well as a way for people to showcase the different projects that they've made or have done. Um, and I didn't want it to turn into like another Git or GitHub sort of deal. So I decided to make the project page be something separate that had like an image and a banner followed by quick information about what it is, who made it, and the dates that it ran for or that it was worked on, and then some links to it and a bit about it. Because I didn't want it to turn into like something that was um, a document or like I didn't want it to turn into something that so I didn't want people to like be like posting code or doing that or the other thing. I just want you to tell me a little bit about your project from a point of view of a non-technical person.
Absolutely.
Um,
Do you have any plans on making this more of a social app where people are able to direct message each other, maybe post things, etc.?
um, I am going to have to put a pin in that for a moment. I am very sorry, but I've had too much coffee and not enough bladder. I should have done this before we started. One moment, I'll be right
That
back.
is a-okay. That is a-okay. One of the cool things about a live podcast is that we can just we can edit all of this out after. So you guys can listen to me. Oh wait, I don't know if I sing the Jeopardy theme song or the waiting music if we'll get a copyright strike. But so I'm going to refrain from that. I know Glabe had an issue earlier today where he accidentally played some music in the background and got copyright stricken. Stricken? I don't think that's a word, but it's really cool. I seen some of the. He was talking about how with modern AI you can actually filter the audio of the music track straight out of the background and leave the audio of the speaker speaking, which I thought was pretty neat. Maybe I
Yeah,
could get away with saying it.
AI has come a quite a long way. Sorry, I'm back. That was
Absolutely. Yeah, no, welcome back.
I had to really quickly run and drain that. Um, what,
TMI.
what was the question that was asked before I ran away? Sorry.
Oh, there was no question. I was talking about the fact that I was going to sing the Jeopardy waiting song,
No,
but I
no, I
didn't
was
want you to get.
I was asking what was the question you had asked me before I said I need to put a pin
Oh,
in
that's
that.
right. Yeah, so I was asking you if you had any plans on making this more social, with people being able to interact with each other, maybe through direct messages or comment on other people's profiles, etc.
Good question. That's actually something that I've been sort of tossing around. I like the idea of people being able to post on somebody, like post a comment or post a something on somebody's profile, or even post on a project that they like or something. Um, but like, I've been debating back and forth on how I want that to go. Um, I thought about putting in a way to add a rating system for projects. I thought about adding a way to put comments in for projects. But then I think it was you that pitched an idea of more or less sort of like upvoting. Um,
Right, or like on GitHub,
so
you have the star system, right?
yeah,
Like there's no negativity.
so it got me thinking. Cheers. Why not add a coffee cup so people can kind of give you
Oh, that's cute.
so people can cheers. Kind of that's a good
Yeah,
idea. Almost like
you cheers a cup of coffee.
almost like a thumbs up, but like here, like buy me a cup of coffee, or here's show, like I'm thinking, because coffee's kind of my thing. I'm thinking about people being able to like instead of star it or thumbs up it, people just add a coffee cup to it.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cute. That's a really cute novel idea. Um,
Um, and then as for profiles, um, I kept going back and forth on profiles and what I wanted to do for like a social aspect of profiles, whether I wanted people to be able to leave reviews on a developer, like maybe if somebody had worked with this person and they want to leave them like a positive reputation view, or like, they want to
mhm.
leave them a vouch. Um,
Yeah,
I was
that brings
thinking,
me back to my hack forum days.
like, I feel like being able to give people like sort of a way to give them reviews is a great way to is a good thing to add, because it also gives that when like a recruiter comes and looks at your profile, they may turn around and see, oh, this person has some testimonials or accolades or whatever it is that you want to call it. um, but I think I might do that in a way that people like, I might add an option or a button maybe on the side somewhere that allows you to like submit a review, so that way you can like write a testimonial or something, and it gets submitted to that person so that they can choose whether or not they want it to be visible on their profile. Because like, I might say limit it to like saying having like up to 10 or 15 um testimonials or accolades or whatever I call it. And that way, if somebody's given a lot, they can kind of just choose. Or if somebody's given a bad one, they don't want it to show, then they can choose not to show it. But I haven't really settled on any uh, solid plans for what I want to do with that. Um, 'Cause as of right now, it's just basically developers that sign up for it, and then they're given a profile that they can customize. Um, I haven't really thought of anything in the sense of like a user registering to give a comment. I feel like all of that would basically be anonymous unless you want to provide a name. Hmm.
I would love to see how you've implemented this. We've been talking a lot about the project, but I would love to see some of your implementation, and perhaps I could give my 2 cents, even with the limited knowledge that I have, and we could kind of critique it together, and you could tell me about kind of why you made the decisions that you did in terms of your structure and tech stack.
Oh yeah, let's go with it. So, as far as some of the tech stack goes, I'm using the LTS for Java, so 25, and I'm using the latest release of Spring, which is 4.0.1 as of this video. Um, I'm also using Postgres as my database to store everything. For that, I just have a locally running uh, file with some defaults set up, because I'm just running it locally right now, and I'm not running
Mhm.
any kind of uh, production ready things. But What would you like to know first?
Well, let's see some of the implementation. Like right now, how do you handle your profile? Let's see some of
So in here,
the logic.
I've got the profile domain, which basically makes up the profile itself. So the user ID, their first name, last name, which I provide a default at first, a nickname that they want to be known by, so like a username, and then they can pick an avatar URL, the GitHub or the GitLab or their LinkedIn, and then they have a string where they store their bio and a string for that header that you saw, the headline. Um,
Mhm.
and that makes up the profile. There is a skill, which is again, it's associated with the profile, and it has a name, and it has a string level, which is just our skill level, which is just an enum that simply is beginner, intermediate, and expert. Um, and I just keep the label there for the actual display of it. And then I have a work history, which just simply, again, consists of a profile ID so that the database can link everything together. I have a company that you work for, the position that you have, start and end dates, a description of what you've done for this job, um, and then whether or not this job is your current position or whether it's whether you have an end date, basically. So
Right.
that's kind of what makes up the domain model here. And then the DTO itself consists of all of the information from the profile itself, and then it also consists of a list of skills, a list of work histories, a list of projects, so that that way when I present it to the model or the controller, I just pass it in a final DTO or data transfer object, and it has everything I need. I also have a create request, which this is just when somebody goes to create a profile from scratch. Um, these things are required. The username and the user ID and the nickname are required. So they are annotated with not blank because they're not allowed to be blank. And then of course the first and last name, um, which is not technically used right now, but when you register, I have to redo the registration form so that it can take in your first and last name, um, and just some basic information that's I also haven't see when I created the user, I had a plan to create profile separate because I wasn't sure initially how I wanted a user to be, whether I wanted that user to be a developer that has a profile, or if I wanted that person to be a recruiter, which doesn't necessarily have the same kind of profile. So I went back and forth on that, and but I ultimately left this in here for now. This bottom part for if a user wants to create a profile, they'll be able to provide some basic detail at first, as opposed to the default data that I provide them. And then I have this profile update request. So whenever you update your bio, update whatever, and you click the save button, that JavaScript then compiles this profile DTO, um, and it passes it or puts it into the API controller.
Yes, this is something that we had a conversation about before, right? Because I was sending the data verbatim, but you instead are sending the entire object and then having JavaScript display that data, right? Where I am injecting it into the HTML.
So if we look at my profile script here, when I click the save button to save my profile, um, up here is getting the profile data. So this is where it
Mhm.
checks to see if the bio it has a text area, and here is this is a hidden value that's passed in, but then it's grabbing from the document the first name, last name, avatar, the headline, like it's pulling all of this in to build an object because this is returning basically a JSON object right here, um, which I use. down here.
What is your
When I
thought process behind sending them the model and then having JavaScript display all the information as opposed to doing
well, it's not
the
JavaScript.
server side?
It's not JavaScript that's sending the data. This just happens to build the model so that when I click on the save button,
Right.
I'm essentially making a request to my profile API. I'm making a put request that happens to contain a JSON of the data, which is that string that I'm passing in.
Well, sorry,
As
I might have misspoken, but how come you're choosing to build the object and send the object as opposed to different pieces of the object and then creating that like on the server side?
um, honestly, it kind of comes down to this was how I learned originally. This was the original way
Mhm.
that I learned to do it. So I've kind of just been running with it. I'm aware that there are other ways to do it and that people do it in different ways, but this was sort of the way that I learned it.
Right, I understand.
Um, so kind of the old dog, new trick, stubborn in ways kind of thing.
Yep, yep. Yeah,
Um,
because when my first initial experience with Spring, I was taking in all of like I would submit the form and it would send all of the data in a post request with each field, and then I would construct that object piece by piece in my backend, as
mm,
opposed to sending the entire JSON object and then parsing that data and creating an object. So I was doing it entirely through the parameters.
choking on my coffee, sorry.
That's
um,
okay.
I always like the idea of building a pre-built data transfer object to pass between HTTP requests
Mhm.
when there is multiple options that can be done. So usually, if I'm just passing in, say, a piece of data like a user ID to do something, or like an ID of something to do it, I'll take that ID in as a request parameter. But when it comes down to doing some things
Like more complex logic.
if I'm
Or
passing
or
if
more complex data structures. Sorry.
yeah, like if I'm passing in something that happens to have like 4, 5, 6 parameters, well, I'm just going to throw that into a data object and pass that around instead because it becomes easier, it becomes more secure, and if I want to go and find out the data, it's right there in a Pojo.
Actually, yeah, that is a pro because instead I would have to add more parameters to my function to be able to handle those other parameters that come through the HTTP request. Whereas this, you just have an object and then you could add a new field to your Pojo and it would automatically decipher it.
Yep, because if you were to, for instance, add a new field to that option that you have. You then have to go into your JavaScript and add it into the sent request, and then you're going to have to go into
Yep.
your controller and add it into there and make sure that it's like it adds extra steps. Where if
Yep.
it's just a data object, everything is sort of encapsulated.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because like if I have a method that overrides that request, like let's say I have different ways of handling it, I have to add the fields to each one of those method parameters. Whereas this, I maintain just the object. Like I just have a reference to the object, and then
Hmm.
I delegate the creation of the object to some other piece of code where it just does it for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's actually really nice. Maybe you just taught me something, so maybe I'll start doing that instead.
DTOs are amazing. I love them. They're secure. Plus, I love the hard concrete object versus the potential random parameters and like the edge cases that could come along with those.
Now, I was thinking of making all my DTOs and converting them to use Google's what's that one library that serializes data between languages?
Oh, I use Jackson for that. I don't use anything by Google. Google
Not
does have
Jackson.
one,
It's
but
I'm
typically
trying to remember what it's called.
um I think I know which one you're talking about. I think I used to use it before I discovered Jackson. if it's the
It
one on.
is called. My Googling skills are failing me. Right, this is gonna take me a minute. GitHub, Google, job. I'm just gonna look at Google's libraries. Oh my goodness, they have 2.8 thousand libraries.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later. But it's something I've been interested in because it not every language supports JSON, but
Hmm.
this one library in particular uh, ensures the uh, data compatibility between languages. It's like a universal uh, data transfer object.
I feel like that's just JSON.
I do agree. JSON is pretty universal, but this is a little bit quicker because it converts it to binary before it transfers over the network.
Okay.
JavaScript can be a little verbose.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name of it.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to Google it, and my Google skills are failing me.
Um, so yeah, if you notice here, this is my save button, just to get back to your thing about earlier. So this is like my save button. So whenever this here ties to the save button, so if that is the one that's clicked, then that's where it
Aha.
goes ahead and saves the profile. Apparently, I should add a then to this, but whatever. I don't see why. Um,
I found it, by the way. Google's protobuf or protocol buffers
no,
is
yeah.
what I was looking for. I will send you the link to this. Oh, wrong link. This might be worth taking a look into if you haven't used it or seen it before. Especially if you're doing like big data transfers, because this converts it to binary, and it allows for better compression.
Hmm. I'm actually going to take
Much
that.
smaller data being sent over the network.
I want to throw that link into our chat, so in case chat wants to see what the heck it is
Yeah,
that we're talking about.
absolutely. Also, I think I've been neglecting the chat a little bit.
No, it was just Melissa was the last person that messaged. Key had messaged us earlier, wishing us a happy new year. Starting to get warm in here now. Jeez, life must have turned up the heat in the house. Ooh. So, what about you, from your perspective, as somebody that's been in the job scene a little bit more recent than I have? Um, what would you think could or should be added or tweaked or changed with the portfolio system so far?
That's a good question. I haven't put too much thought into it, so I'm not exactly sure.
Well,
I could kind of, yeah, I don't know, but I would love to have a conversation about it. And whenever we have good ideas, I will throw them towards you. You know that.
oh
Um,
yes. I'm trying to find the link that I sent you so I could put it in chat so that other people can. There it is. So for anybody else out there in the chat that wants to check out this program, there is a link that I just put in the chat. It's based from a Cloudflare link. It allows me to um, tunnel to basically expose my local host so that other people can check out, for example, this project. So if you're in the chat, I did just share a link. Feel free to click it, and it should take you to the Midnight Coder portfolio project that we're working on, where you can sort of have hands-on um, experience to check it out, explore it, and whatnot. For those of you that have been following me, you might find that interesting, since I've been putting out quite a few videos about it so far, and I think I put out a live stream before about it. But yeah, if you are ever curious, you can click that link. I will also pin it in a comment. It's not going to be online all of the time, but it will be online when I'm working on it.
Absolutely. Um, so I have a question for you. This is one conversation we had before where there's no wrong way. There's different correct ways of doing it, but we have different ways of doing it, which is how we structure our spring project. So I I expressed my opinion that I like to organize it by features, but you like to organize it by model view controller. Can you speak more about like why you decided to do it that way, or why it might be preferable?
Well, technically, the way that I like to do things is I like to break them down into sort of sections, as if I was building microservices. So I like to put things in a feature base, but I also like to follow through with the um, the MVC design. So in my case, I broke mine down into features, so like identity for users, profiles, projects, teams, and then I have a separate part for sitemap because right now I only have the home page that's being taken care of in here, but I have a sitemap page as well, and then I have the common uh, directory which takes care of error handling, security, and utilities that get used basically within each of the different modules or domains. And then inside of each module, I have the model view controller of domain, which is where we put all of our domain models. DTO for the obvious. Repositories, where I stick all of my repositories. Services is where I put in all of my service implementations. And then the web layer, or the controller layer, as it's also commonly known, is where I stick all of my API controllers, my web controllers, um, so that they're in here, and then I tuck my mappers inside of here, which right now I only have the one, but I tuck my mappers in here so that I can keep everything kind of together.
The more that I'm looking at your project structure, the more I am convinced of maybe actually switching over because it looks a lot easier to navigate. Whereas for me, like I know that everything's in my feature, but then I'm looking for like specific classes and I have to read through every single one of them, right? Like I'm looking for the DTO or I'm looking for the service for the controller, and everything's sort of similarly named because it's a
Well,
part of that feature. So I'll
now
have like
now if I had this fully out, shit, if I had this one fully out, there's a lot of files that make up the profile. So like if I had all of that in just one simple area, yeah, it would get annoying to search for a specific thing that I want to find. So by putting everything in the MVC like packaging, it allows me to keep everything neat and tidy. Um,
yep.
and it keeps my OCD from twitching away.
I believe mine is tidy. Do believe also that yours is tidier.
See,
Like,
about 6 months ago, I used to think my code was my packaging was pretty good, pretty tight, and I used to think everything looked pretty good. And then I decided one day, what would a monolithic program look like that had all of
mhm.
these modules in it? Because generally, when I build microservices, I would have individual services, and they would be named things like common, identity, profile, and then in them would be the whole source main Java dev.midnightcoder domain this this. So I realized that all of my microservices, if they were compressed into a single project or a monolithic project, it would ultimately come out looking like it does here.
Right. Are there any open source Spring websites that you take inspiration from? Like, have you seen a code base in Spring where you're like, that's absolutely beautiful? Like, it's just easy to navigate, everything makes sense. Like, do you have a good example of a professional environment?
Honestly, no, I do not. Um, Majority of my structure has just come from best practices over the years and watching people on YouTube and like early days of watching tutorials and watching people structure small scale projects and just my mindset just sort of tells me like the few steps ahead kind of follow a similar thing and just I don't want to say common sense but like developer sense um kind of has me thinking in an engineering way that kind of models things and I'm constantly changing my way of thinking and my way of doing things just because I'm constantly trying to grow and evolve but um this is just sort of what came of all these different years of trying things. I don't actually participate in very many open source projects myself personally, and I haven't. I've explored a little bit of like the pet clinic, Spring Boot's pet or Spring's pet clinic, where they showcase uh, some of the best practices with Spring, and it's mainly a CRUD application, which is where I got the inspiration for the Midnight Technician. Was things like land and hotel and um, um, because like land and hotel was a great project that shows a bit of security and how authorization and authentication work where the spring pet clinic was this application that was good for teaching you crud applications and database how to access and structure databases and there was never anything that was sort of taking the two together and there was nothing that sort of brought them both together and brought in extra technologies that are used. So I don't know. I think I might have went a little off topic there.
No, I think that's totally on topic. I'm looking at the pet clinic repository right now.
Hmm. And
It is nice.
again, it is a very good. It is very good, but it is also very. It feels like a tutorial. The project itself feels like it's written in a
Yes, it's
tutorial way.
quite novice. Like it's quite a small project too.
hmm Whereas I wanted to bring something that was more of an enterprise level, which is where the Midnight Technician came in. And like right now with this project, my idea was I wanted to be able to show people how the thought process and thinking would go as a project scales with need. So I figured I would start small with building a profile and a project so that I could also show people how a user is different than a profile and a profile is different than a project and sort of how those things, how those three different entities technically make up what one user sort of represents. But my idea was try to show people how to grow an application from the ground up and take them beyond the general tutorial of this is how you build this service, this is how you build a REST client, this is how you build a controller, this is how you like. I wanted to go beyond that because I feel like
Mhm.
there's a shit ton of those out there, but nobody seems to ever follow through all the way to production. Nobody really you can find videos that teach you a little bit about DevOps, but they only ever teach you like this is how SSA or sorry, this is how an SSL is installed. This is how you do this. There's different videos for it, but there's not like one project, one thing that is like all the way through, which is where I wanted to go with the
Right,
Midnight
and
Coder.
because they have different interactions with each other too, right? So it
hmm
would be nice to see like how they all work in tandem with each other. Like you could like I do know how to set up an SSL certificate. I can generate one right now. But how do I implement that in my Spring project?
Exactly right. There's other questions that people come up with because then you have to make a trust store. You have to make a key store for like a so that your application actually physically has the certificate installed on it so that the application can securely communicate with it and decrypt the cert and make those necessary actions that it needs to do. And I'm not going to say
Well,
I'm like a god with it, but I've done it 3 times professionally, um, where I've set up
mhm,
a website project application that went right out to production, and I've did it. I purchased a domain on a cheap ass website. I purchased a cheap ass VPS to host my Java application, and I purchased an SSL. I pointed the domain to the VPS. I installed the SSL to everything, and then through the use of Docker and Git, I was able to spin up a local database as well as pull in my project and spin everything up on basically a VPS host and have it all secure and great. I did that 3 times with 3 projects that went full scale to production, and one project only had like 4 or 5 users. I had the other project, I had a couple hundred users. Um, I think the biggest project I did had about 250 users. Um,
that's amazing.
so like nothing that was like big data, but to me, 200 people that used my project, that was fucking exciting. I was pumped. I have had other people use more projects, like when I was working for Newfold Digital. When I wrote a project that staff used, like hundreds of people used it, but that was more of a company thing, and it was an internal tool, and it wasn't as impressive as like, hey, I just made this project, and random people that I have no idea who the hell they are managed to find it and make accounts and use it. Like that was impressive as hell to me. So
Right, right.
not to diverge too far off of or off topic here. Is there anything else that you want to know about the project? Any more like details you want to dig into?
Yeah, I would love to just see your Java code, like one thing that we didn't have in common was our Java format. Like you prefer the space in between in your if statements, right? I would love to talk about like practices in Java formatting, like and find the differences in our formatting.
Okay, so let's pop into some controllers so we can see some
Yeah, something with a
things.
lot of logic, so I can kind of
Okay,
help.
logic. Let's go into the service layer.
So one thing that I've seen.
Here's one that you didn't like.
Oh yes, yeah, the indented. Yeah,
Yeah, you didn't seem to
I
be
mean
too big of a
it's not
fan of my.
wrong.
Oh, it's definitely not wrong.
No,
It's just to me that is just it just seems more readable than this, just because this all sort of like I get that it is readable, but much like a YAML
yeah,
file where you have all your stuff, like in your YAML you have your like
yep.
stuff like yeah, I feel like this is more readable to me, but I
Yeah,
used to
one
do it
thing I will actually.
I used to do it
Sorry.
the other way, when I would do things like when I have to like specifically call this out as a profile. I won't do this
Yeah.
denting because then it just looks stupid. Because then I'll do this. But the fact that once Java introduced var as a keyword, and I realized that was 3 plus that one space was 4, I then realized I could take this whole thing, hit tab, and be golden.
Ah, yep. One other thing that I actually do like about this, not that you're going to convert me, but because everything's lined up that way, if you do decide to use multiple cursors, everything is still lined up. Whereas I think if you didn't have them indented, if you tried to, for example, modify the name I mean, first of all, you would use the rename function in
Hmm.
IntelliJ. Because they're lined up like that, you could use the multiple cursors to rename the things or to modify the names of the functions.
Yeah, I have done that before when I've done things like this, like where it's always been here, except
Yeah.
in this case, I also save it down here. But like typically, if I haven't written this yet, but I'm writing this out and I realize that I hate how big that text is, usually I'll just run through and change it.
Mhm.
I love the fact that I can do the whole cursor pick. I also love that I can use Control Alt Shift, and I can stick as many cursors as I want around in as many places as I want, so I could start typing out in a lot of
Yep.
crazy places.
Do you know if the multiple cursors, if they like are all relative, or is there like a smart cursor thing where you can like go between different tokens? So like if I was to, let's say, have multiple cursors on cached profile, um, now I wanted to change something, like I wanted to change the nullify and remove the nullify from each of those lines. Would I be able to do that? Or when you move over your
So,
cursor, is it like
so
relative in terms of like
it
units?
it is relative in the sense of doing this, so it wouldn't work that way. However,
Yeah.
if you hold control, you jump to the end of whatever you're at.
Ah.
So like if I highlight all these, hold the control key and press right, I'm going to go to the end of that word. If I do it again, I'm going to go to the other side of the dot. Do it again, I'm going to go to the beginning to the end of those words.
Okay,
Do it
that's nice.
again,
That's what I was looking
and
for.
now I'm
Yeah.
on nullify.
Nice. Okay. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Yep. So as long as you like, if you just highlight them all and then move with the left and right arrows, it's all going to be
Mhm.
relative. So it won't, they're going to stay the same. But if you hold control, you jump to the end of the string that you're at. So
Mhm.
that does allow for what you're looking for.
Another thing that I noticed that I don't necessarily agree with, but I would like to hear your reasoning behind it, is the if statements without brackets.
That's just because single lines, if you have a single line thing, you don't need to
Yep.
actually have them. So there are some times, like if this was just a return statement instead of a throw, I would just single line it.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Now, I understand that's a feature in Java. I personally don't use it because in the instance of like where I might want to add additional logic if that predicate returns true,
mhm.
then you would have to add brackets anyways.
Oh yeah,
And
like to be fair, I should theoretically have the brackets, and so that way I can like handle some logging issues. Like I should be able to uh, throw in a logger dot debug for whatever the hell, yeah, profile not found. Like I should theoretically be logging it as well as throwing the resource not found, because the resource not found was an exception that I wrote that just overlaps a service exception, which is ultimately a runtime exception.
right.
Um, but those were just exceptions that I built myself just so that I could have more of a verbose explanation to myself. But generally, what I do for my own practice is if I'm only writing one-lined if statement checks, I usually don't put the brackets because I feel like that adds a little bit extra that I don't need.
Yeah.
Even though it's only like technically one line and two carets or two characters, um, it's just something that I started a long time ago and I kind of fell into the rut of doing it.
Right. Yeah, I opt for the brackets anyways, just in case I do have potential for me to
Oh,
add more logic in there.
hell yeah!
And
And
then
there's like
also,
almost every developer I know uses the brackets. I seem to be kind of like the one weirdo in my circle of friends that doesn't
no,
like it.
I do see the one bracket a lot. I just don't agree with
Mm.
it. What was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, another thing that it prevents you from doing. So let's say you wanted to add extra logic inside of that predicate. If you don't have the brackets and you do it underneath, it will always get executed, but you intended to be a part of that predicate.
Mm.
So like the compiler won't yell at you for saying like, "Hey, this is wrong." It'll still compile and it'll still work, and it would give you unexpected functionality. So like let's say I wanted to do something on line 84 that was a part of the line 82 predicate, right?
Mm.
Um, because it early returns, well, I mean, not like you would add logic underneath of that return anyways,
Hmm.
but like let's say some other computation. If I wanted to add another computation if it didn't exist, then it would actually give me the opposite effect because it would only execute that next line if it did exist.
Yeah, so like if I was going to come back here to again like address the whole logging thing, like if I didn't find
Yeah,
it, I would again do something like this. Um,
right, that's true.
but again, like because again, the only thing I could really do here is log out why I returned. Um, a lot of the time, like a lot of the time, if I'm writing personal projects, I do this more than if I'm writing professional projects.
Mhm.
Mainly because when I write professional projects or if I write projects for other people, um, I generally do a lot of logging. I do a lot of debug, a little bit of info, a lot of trace. I do a lot more logging when it's for somebody else because I feel like
Mhm.
then I'm not around to monitor it. So I want as much logging as possible if I have to come back and debug something. Um, so if I write something for myself, I usually sort of slack on my own part. Um, but like this project here is definitely one that I should be going back through and spend some time to put out some actual logging into it. And I might actually turn that into a small video where I explain the benefits and reasoning behind why you want to use logging, and why logging frameworks exist and why they're so great. This one here, actually, particular, I do want to actually implement. I have full plans to implement Sentry,
Yes.
which is a great logging framework, and I've used it before. I actually have a shortcut to it down here on my thing. Like I have it set up for the Midnight Technician. Oh, I gotta log in, but whatever.
That is something I should
Um,
probably use as well.
but it makes it so that have you used it before at all?
I have, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's great for being able to if because especially like I write a lot of microservices, so I write a lot of like this is one program, but it's made up of 11 different services that run or 11 different applications that run. So like if I have an error and I don't know which microservice threw that error, I now have to SSH into fucking 11 different machines to then rip through so many logs and try to make heads or tail. Whereas with Sentry, I can just log into Sentry and see everything in one single place. Like I love Sentry. Um,
Yeah, and even in production too, if you have Sentry logging, it allows you to view the stack traces of your users. So if you're not able to reproduce the same results, you can see their logs in real time as opposed to having them or like having some sort of service that uploads logs to your servers and you're handling a bunch of logic that Sentry
mm,
already does, and or getting them to send you their logs.
yeah, the amount of information that's available on Sentry is just amazing.
Absolutely.
I got introduced to it about maybe a year ago, maybe less than a year. So I'm still pretty new to the platform. But what I've been using on it is just it's blown me away. Like, because I remember again doing the painful 3 a.m. friggin' sitting here with Putty with like half a dozen different Putty windows open, trying to SSH in and grep through logs,
Mhm.
and like
Yeah.
I've done that painful task way too many times. So when one of my friends was like, "Why are you doing this?" and I was like, "Because an error through and I don't know where it came from." They're like, "Do you not use a framework?" I was like, "Yes, I'm using SLF4J, so I have logs." They're like, "No, do you not use Sentry?" And I was like, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna blow your mind." And then he showed me it, and I was like, "Oh my god."
It is very lovely.
Yeah, I totally, at that point, I was like just mind blown. I was like, there's no way that this exists, and I've been doing this the painful way.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I first got introduced to CI/CD. Like I would
Mm,
manually build my applications, like FTP or SSH into the server, upload them, and then run them. Whereas now you have this full autonomous like application that just does that for you. It's kind of like black magic. Like I just code and then it's automatically deployed, which is so nice. That is so nice.
oh, when I first discovered GitHub's actions and like GitLab's actions and the workflow and how I can automate things, oh my god, it was a game changer. I was
Yep.
doing I discovered that I was able to set things up in a way so that whenever I made a push to GitHub, like I finished my code, I was done, I pushed off to my beta branch, it would then kick off a series of events that would ultimately reboot my beta server that was running on a Docker image or a Docker container. So that way it would fetch everything. We would basically do all I need to reboot that environment so that my beta people could come on and test it without me having to go in and do a full reboot like I would in a production environment. I was able to simplify it down to just I make a push to Git and boom, 2 minutes later, everything is restarted, rebooted, and updated.
Yeah.
Like when I
Isn't that lovely?
when I first discovered that, I was like, "Holy shit! That is black magic voodoo right there."
Oh man, when I first started programming in Java, I was programming in just the regular old Notepad on Windows, compiling it through the command line interface using Java C, and then yeah, you just have
Hmm.
these really intelligent people that just do all the heavy work for you, which
Yeah,
was so nice.
I used to have I used to
IDE
have
is
two
also a blessing.
I used to have two batch files at all times. I had
Yep,
one
one to
bat one.
compile, one to run.
Yep. So that way I would just then and
Yep,
then and then I would just like I just go into my and then I would go into my terminal and like I'd be lazy and just up to rerun the
yep,
last things.
yep.
But
Yeah, and then you got
yeah,
to worry about making sure that every class in your project is inside of the class path, compiling it, making sure that when you run, everything is inside of the class path. I actually had a batch script that went through all my folders recursively, found all the Java files, and then added them to the class path.
I had this issue. I remember. I used to hate when I had Notepad and Notepad plus. Well, Notepad plus plus made it easy, but I hated when I was doing Notepad and I forgot a semicolon or I forgot a curly
Yep.
brace, and then I had to scroll through and struggle to find where did I miss the closing brace, where did I miss the.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so painful. But then I
And
discovered
one
then Notepad plus plus I could click on the opening bracket and it would like sort of highlight where the closing bracket is, and that made life a little bit easier.
One thing you were asking me about was like my struggles in programming. So again, this is another thing because I was so young. Reading the Java stack trace is not intuitive. It's not. It doesn't like. I mean, it makes sense if you know what to look for. It makes total sense and it's easy
Hmm.
to read. But it doesn't really tell you what's wrong. It just well, I mean, it does, but it more so like telling you where it's wrong. Um, I would love to see something in Java that gave more of a an English description of what exactly is wrong in your code and where it is. And I
Hmm.
believe there is a JVM flag in the compiler now where you can do that and it adds more robust error messages. I can't remember the flag verbatim.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that is something that I really struggled with and I would love to see better support for in the future in Java would be better error messages.
Hmm.
Um, again, there was a language, I can't remember which language it was, but it did it very beautifully, where it told you exactly what was wrong in plain English.
Hmm.
There was no like trying to decipher the stack trace.
I'm sure there's a library out there that like there must be a logging library out there that like when it catches the error and prints it, it might process it and tell you.
Let's see. So in Java, there
Honestly,
is.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody would write a library that gives you and that uses like an LLM to give you a breakdown of what the error is.
Yeah, that's not even a bad idea. And if that doesn't exist, it definitely should exist. Java, more verbose stack trace. JVM flag. Let's find this together. So it is. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for.
I feel like that also becomes a bit of a.
Ah, here it is. So this was introduced in Java 14. There is the JVM flag show code details and exception messages.
Hmm.
I will link this to you now. Actually, and actually I can't link it to you because it's in the AI overview. I'll find it on here. This is JP358. You find it JP358.
I remember when Java 9 introduced a flag that allowed you to get more detailed null messages.
Yeah,
So,
so that's actually what I was just sending the chat right now. I just posted in the YouTube chat. So it's
okay.
JP358. It is, what is it called? Helpful null pointer exceptions.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when I was progressing from when Java 9 first came out, that they added a flag that would give you more verbose
Mhm.
null pointer exceptions. Because like I remember the old days, Java 8, it would just be null pointer exception, no details.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would actually love to talk about that a little bit too. What was your earliest memory of Java? Like, do you remember which Java version you were using?
Or
Yep, I started with Java 1.4 as well. Yeah. um, I was gonna again. Oh yeah, actually, you're a part of the RS scene. One thing that I used to love and hate was most modern browsers at that time came with a embedded JDK, so you could embed Java applets in websites.
good old web
You
browsers,
remember this too,
good
right?
old web clients.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the web clients and stuff. But because it actually had the full implementation of the JDK, you could do things on the user system. So it was very prone to attacks. Like you could just have remote code execution by simply visiting a website and allowing the applet to run.
I
I don't know
believe
if you've ever heard
that's
of the term. It
I
was
believe
called the Java drive-by.
yeah, I believe that's actually why Jagex, the creators of RuneScape, I think that's why they got rid of their or one of the reasons they
Yes.
were getting rid of or considering getting rid of their browser, aside from the fact that all major browsers decided to drop Java support. But
Right.
I do believe that was one of their reasons for moving to a desktop client.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of people trying to imitate the RuneScape site. They would make it look verbatim how RuneScape looked, and with a Java applet that would execute malicious code on their machines, and you had full access to the machines too, because it wasn't running like a modified JDK. It was running the JDK, so you could interact with the user system, execute code on their machine. You could download files to their machine, execute it. Like you could stage a virus and then execute it and have it continue just by simply visiting a web page. And I think Flash had this problem too, which is why
Yeah.
we don't have Flash in browsers anymore as